Coming up on Arirang News. The North Korean leader's powerful sister Kim Yo Jong says the day Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visits Pyongyang may come. Seoul's Unification Minister says this comes as the regime is in great shock after South Korea forged diplomatic ties with Cuba. The Finance Ministry assesses that South Korea's economic recovery momentum is continuing with a rebound in manufacturing production and exports. But it also notes sluggish private spending and construction investments. Major medical sector disruptions are expected as doctors at South Korea's largest hospitals have declared collective resignations, protesting the expansion of medical school admissions quotas. Good evening. It's 9 p.m. here in Seoul. Thank you for joining us on Arirang News. We begin with a rare statement issued by the North Korean leader's powerful sister Kim Yo Jong, who suggested inviting Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida to Pyongyang if conditions are met. In an exclusive interview, we hear what Seoul's Unification Minister Kim Young-ho had to say about this. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil had the opportunity to sit down with him.
Unification Minister Kim Young-ho told Arirang News that Kim Yo Jong's statement came amid the historic diplomatic development between South Korea and Cuba the day before.
I think North Korea must be in shock witnessing South Korea establishing diplomatic ties with Cuba. The only way for North Korea to get out from diplomatic isolation is to give up on its nuclear weapons as demanded by the international community.
Some experts warned that Kim Yo Jong's statement may be aimed at trying to sabotage the trilateral relationship between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan. But Minister Kim said this will not be affected.
The trilateral cooperation system between South Korea, the U.S., and Japan has never been more concrete since the Camp David summit last August. North Korea will never be able to get to Washington and Tokyo without going through Seoul.
On Thursday evening, Kim Yo Jong released a rare statement saying that there may come a day when Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visits Pyongyang so long as Japan does not bring up issues related to Japanese abductees and the regime's nuclear and missile programs. The statement came as Prime Minister Kishida said last week, now is the time to make bold moves and change the current situation, referring to relations with North Korea.
So if Japanese and North Koreans make a bilateral deal, there will be a tension or differences of opinion between the allies in Northeast Asia between Korea, Japan, and the United States. And this is exactly something that the North Koreans are trying to achieve here, essentially to drive a wedge between Korea and Japan.
But the outlook for a possible visit to Pyongyang by Kishida seems unlikely under such conditions. On Friday, Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi said Japan could not accept Kim Yo Jong's conditions. The Japanese government acknowledges 17 citizens having been abducted by North Korea between the late 70s and early 80s. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Shifting gears. President Yoon today vowed to provide full support for young scientists and researchers, also noting that this year's government budget cut for R&D does not mean less support for the science sector. Our Kim Do-yeon reports.
As part of efforts to foster more talent in science and tech, President Yoon has introduced a stipend program to provide full-time grad students in national research programs. At least 800,000 Korean won, or about $600 per month, for master's students and $820 for people doing PhDs.
먼저 우리 이공계 학생들이 학비나 생활비 걱정을 덜고 학업과 연구에 매진할 수 있도록 전폭적인 지원을 펼칠 것입니다.
This came as he hosted the 12th Livelihood Policy discussion with scientists in Daejeon, known as South Korea's Research and Development City. He also put emphasis on the nation's research facilities collaborating with each other as well as ones overseas to make a, quote, quantum jump in the nation's research scene. The announcement comes against the backdrop of the government reducing the 2024 R&D budget by 15%, marking the first cut in 33 years, which has raised concerns among the scientific community about diminished support amidst reforms. Yoon tackled that head-on.
그런데 이러한 혁신 과정에서 지원이 줄어드는 것은 아닌지 염려하시는 분들도 있는 것으로 알고 있습니다. 전혀 걱정하시지 않아도 되고 오히려 훨씬 더 좋아질 것이라고 오늘 제가 확실하게 말씀을 드리겠습니다.
Other plans to support R&D include speeding up the development of a second science park in Daejeon's Daedeok-gu district, which follows the Daedeok Innopolis. Also saying that empty research facilities mean nothing. There will be better infrastructure in the region, including Chungcheong Train Express, to connect nearby major cities. While in Daejeon, President Yoon also attended other events to meet with the nation's students in sciences, sitting down with 200 of them, including Science Olympiad winners and national scholarship recipients. He reminded them of the tremendous role they have for the nation while reiterating his will to provide support.
여러분이 어떤 의문을 가지고 어떤 질문을 하느냐 그리고 어떤 해답을 찾기 위해 노력하느냐에 바로 우리나라의 미래가 걸려 있습니다.
He also gave a commencement speech at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology graduation, where he told them to not fear failure and to boldly take on challenges as he does what he can to get them support. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Doctors at South Korea's largest hospitals have declared collective resignations, protesting the expansion of medical school admissions quotas. The government orders hospitals to ban any mass leave-taking while warning for legal measures. Shin Se-byuk reports.
The government on Friday sent a stern message to doctors who are planning to go ahead with the collective submission of letters of resignation to protest the government's recent decision to increase the number of medical students.
We will issue individual directives to resume work for the residents who have declined to see patients. Should these directives be ignored, we will proceed with appropriate legal measures.
The Yoon Suk-yeol administration announced last week a plan to increase the overall medical student quota by 2,000 to over 5,000 by 2025 to address chronic doctor shortage in rural areas and specific medical fields. The government has also ordered 221 training hospitals nationwide to ban any mass leave-taking and to retain essential medical personnel, warning of the possibility of the latter's licenses being revoked if they do not comply with the ministry's immediate return-to-work order in the event of a strike. The government's solid response came as trainee doctors at 5 major hospitals in Seoul decided to collectively submit letters of resignation. According to the Korean Intern Resident Association, all residents at 5 major hospitals in Seoul will submit their resignations by the 19th and will stop working after 6 a.m. on the 20th. The so-called Big Five hospitals are Seoul National University, the Catholic University of Korea Seoul St. Mary's, and Severance Hospitals and Samsung and Asan Medical Centers. Some of the hospitals have confirmed that all of their residents have already agreed to hand in resignation letters. As of Thursday, according to the Health Ministry, a total of 154 letters have been submitted at 7 hospitals, although none have been accepted. If the collective action goes ahead as planned, it would mark the 4th time doctors have taken such action since the first medical strike in 2000. Meanwhile, medical students nationwide have decided to submit leave of absence requests en masse for February 20th, next Tuesday. This decision followed an emergency meeting held on Thursday evening by representatives from 35 of the nation's 40 medical schools. During the meeting, all participants unanimously agreed to coordinate the submission of the request while ensuring unified action across all 40 medical schools. Another meeting to further discuss plans for upcoming action, including the possibility of boycotting classes, is scheduled for later on Friday. However, according to the Education Ministry, as of Thursday afternoon, no leave of absence requests had been submitted to the schools. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
President Yoon has appointed former Army Reserve Major General Seok Jong as the new minister for the country's Defense Acquisition Program Administration. The top office said on Friday that Seok will lead the Arms Procurement Agency, given his diverse leadership experience in the Army and the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He said that through Seok's expertise in military planning, he is expected to lead the development of military science and technology in coordination with various government and private sectors. Also on Friday, Yoon approved Yo Jong as the new chief of the Board of Audit and Inspection of Korea, promoting him from Secretary General. Year-on-year job additions rebounded to the 300,000 level in January for the first time in 3 months. But it was led by those in their 60s, while those in their teens and 20s have seen a decline. Our Lee Soo-jin has details.
South Korea's on-year job growth has recovered to the 300,000 range for the first time in 3 months. Data released by Statistics Korea on Friday shows that there were 27.7 million people in employment last month, up 380,000 from the previous year. This also marks the largest on-year job growth recorded in 10 months since March last year. Job growth was primarily led by an increase in employment of those aged 60 and above, which recorded a 350,000 rise, while there were also increases for those in their 30s and 50s. On the other hand, employment figures for people aged 15 to 29 fell by 85,000 compared to the previous year, showing a decline for 15 consecutive months. While an on-year drop for 40 to 49-year-olds was recorded for the 19th month straight. In terms of different job sectors, the healthcare and social assistance sectors saw the largest number of job additions, with more than 100,000 people hired, followed by the science and technology and construction industries. And the manufacturing sector also recorded an increase for the second consecutive month, with an addition of 20,000 new hires last month. Employment in manufacturing tumbled from January to November last year before recovering in December.
The growth in the manufacturing sector was partly due to the base effect, but the auto and medical sectors are also seeing a rise, and while the electronics and chemical sectors remain sluggish, they are also showing signs of recovery.
And during a job task force meeting held on the same day, the first vice finance minister announced that while January's employment figures are encouraging, the government will remain vigilant.
We will continue to respond and monitor risk factors amid concerns about geopolitical tensions and sluggish construction orders. We will also promote hiring programs to create 1.14 million jobs in the first half of the year.
The vice minister also pledged that the finance ministry will continue to focus on implementing measures that will lead to an export-oriented recovery and expand women's participation in the workforce. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
The finance ministry assesses that South Korea's economic recovery momentum is continuing with a rebound in manufacturing production and exports. But it also notes sluggish private spending and construction investments. Shin Ha-young has more.
South Korea's economy is continuing its recovery momentum with strong manufacturing production and exports. That's according to the Economic Green Book released by the Finance Ministry on Friday. The ministry's description of the country's economy has changed to recovery momentum is continuing from the previous reports. Signs of recovery are expanding. This is mainly due to a rebound in exports and manufacturing production.
Exports continue to rise, and in mining and manufacturing production, there have been consecutive increases for the last 3 quarters. With these factors, the economic recovery momentum has strengthened further.
In December, production in mining and manufacturing went up by over 6% from the year before, driven by chip sector, which saw a jump of over 50% in output on rising demand. The country's exports continued to increase for the 4th consecutive month in January. There was an on-year increase of 18% in exports last month as demand for semiconductors continued to improve and shipments to China grew for the first time in 20 months. However, the ministry pointed out that the pace of recovery differs across sectors, with signs of sluggish private consumption and stagnant construction investment becoming more evident. In December, retail sales, a key gauge of private spending, dropped 0.8% from the previous month. Construction investment fell 2.7% on month and over 1% on year. There are rising expectations for a recovery in the IT industry and soft landing for the global economy. However, it evaluated that uncertainties still remain due to geopolitical risks like the war in Ukraine and the outbreak of conflict in the Middle East. In response, the government plans to continue to manage potential risks while also focusing on improving people's livelihoods by implementing key policy tasks identified during livelihood policy discussion with citizens. 신하영, Arirang News.
Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok today at a press briefing announced an extension in the fuel tax cut, which was due to expire this month, for 2 more months until the end of April in light of rising oil prices. The tax cut provides a 25% discount on gasoline and a 37% discount on diesel and liquefied petroleum gas. As for the corporate value-up program that aims to raise the prices of undervalued stocks on the domestic market, the minister said that the fine details of the plan will be released on February 26th. The global credit rater Fitch Ratings, along with Moody's, has raised the credit ratings of both Hyundai Motor and Kia to A- with a stable outlook. According to the Hyundai Motor Group on Friday, Fitch cited the two companies' continuously improving market positions thanks to their integrated brand competitiveness, diversified products, improved profitability, and financial strength as reasons why. This is the first time that Hyundai and Kia have achieved an A grade, which indicates a significantly low credit risk. And a video of frozen kimbap has gone viral on social media, making more people outside Korea wonder about this food. Our An Sung-jin went out to see what's so special about this rice-based product.
A quick snack or meal widely consumed by South Koreans, kimbap has been increasingly getting attention from outside of the country. It's usually made fresh, but the trend recently is kimbap that's frozen. Korean-American digital creator Sarah An's TikTok video of first trying frozen kimbap went viral with more than 10 million views. She said she was speechless and incredibly happy on how Korean kimbap has become so widely known in the US.
Basically, every Korean market which never carried frozen kimbap now sells their own brand, and all those get sold out. So I think it's become a staple that's just going to become more accessible as time goes on.
This company in Hadong, Gyeongsang-namdo Province, produces an average of 13,000 frozen kimbaps a day using local vegetables. This is not only for domestic consumption, but also for export to nearly 20 countries. Once a kimbap is frozen, it can be stored for nearly a year and just needs a few minutes in the microwave. As products that contain meat cannot be exported, the kimbap that's shipped abroad is vegetarian and comes in varieties containing tofu, burdock, spinach, or other ingredients.
We want to eventually build factories outside of Korea so we can produce a wider range of kimbap with fewer limitations. So far, we've achieved our goal in branding kimbap not as Korean sushi, but as something originally Korean with its own name.
An expert says that there's more to the wave of Korean food than simply increased interest for Korean content, including K-pop, through social media.
Most importantly, this is all possible due to a vast improvement in South Korea's food processing and storage technology that allowed such products to be exported in good condition and taste for consumers abroad.
On the back of increased attention for convenient and healthy foods such as this frozen kimbap, exports of South Korea's rice-based processed products saw a hike. The value of exports exceeded $200 million for the first time last year, which has quadrupled the number from 2015. To enhance competitiveness in the market, the government plans to increase the exports of rice-based processed products to $400 million of exports by 2028. It will also promote growth by investing in R&D and infrastructure. An Sung-jin, Arirang News, Hadong.
The president of the Korea Football Association, Jung Mong-gyu, today made the decision to dismiss Jürgen Klinsmann, the head coach of the men's national team. After South Korea's disappointing performance in the Asian Cup semifinal, fan discontent escalated after they saw as
Klinsmann's lack of tactical acumen and leadership skills. Following the demand made by the KFA's National Team Committee on Thursday for Klinsmann to be replaced, the decision was made at Friday's emergency meeting by Chairman Jong, who himself is facing pressure to step down. Klinsmann's contract was supposed to run until the 2026 World Cup, but leaves after just 1 year in charge. One of the most prestigious film festivals in the world, the annual Berlin International Film Festival kicked off its 10-day run. Korean films have been leaving their mark since 1961, when director Kang Dae-jin's The Coachman won the Silver Bear, the second highest honor. This year's lineup also includes several Korean films. Our culture correspondent Song Yu-jin has more.
The bear hunt begins. The Berlin International Film Festival, or Berlinale, is back. Held every February, it stands among the world's top 3 film festivals alongside Cannes and Venice.
The Berlin International Film Festival began in 1951 as a symbol of Germany's post-World War II reconstruction and international reconciliation. It screens a diverse array of films from independent films to documentaries, animation, and experimental films. The festival is known for inviting artistically profound films valuing diversity and multiculturalism.
Around 200 films will be screened over 10 days in the German capital, with 6 Korean films in the lineup. Among the 20 competing for the main competition category is director Hong Sang-soo's latest film, A Traveler's Needs. This marks Hong's 5th consecutive year of being invited to the Berlinale.
Despite winning 3 Silver Bears at the Berlinale, Hong Sang-soo has yet to clinch the Golden Bear, the festival's highest honor. This time, his movie features veteran French actor, the internationally beloved Isabelle Huppert, so A Traveler's Needs can win this time.
In the short film category, there's Chung Yoo-mi's Circle. With this 7-minute black and white film, Chung has become the first director to be invited to the Berlinale 4 times with an animation. Meanwhile, Kim Hae-young's debut feature, It's Okay, aims to capture the hearts of young people in the audience. The film is competing in the Generation K+ category with juries including children between 11 and 14 years old. Beyond the competition, the 4th installment of the Roundup series is making its world premiere at the Berlinale Special Gala. A cult thriller Exuma starring Choi Min-sik and the Korean-Japanese documentary Voices of the Silenced will be screened as part of the Berlinale Forum and Forum Expanded. The winners of the major awards will be announced on February 24th, a day before the festival comes to a close. Song Yu-jin, Arirang News.
A U.S. company's lunar lander is traveling stably toward the moon after a successful launch. Intuitive Machines launched the lander Odysseus, sponsored by NASA, on a SpaceX Falcon rocket on Thursday. The Houston-based company said an hour after launch that no issues regarding radio contact or solar charging had surfaced so far. This is the second attempt at a lunar landing by a private firm in just over a month following the failure of Astrobotic Technologies' Peregrine lander mission. That spacecraft was returned to Earth and burned up in the atmosphere after the propellant leak prevented it from landing on the moon. If it goes well, Odysseus will become the U.S.'s first spacecraft to land on the moon since the crewed Apollo 17 mission more than 5 decades ago, and the world's first private lunar exploration lander.
After the rain and snow yesterday, the cold snap eased off during the day today. Mostly sunny conditions are waiting for tomorrow across the country. The air will also be clean without fine dust. It will be a little chilly until tomorrow morning. Then temperatures will rise from the daytime, going back to as cozy as early spring again. The weather will be warm enough to do outdoor activities. However, with the rise in temperatures, wide temperature gaps will be seen in daily readings. Most regions will see a gap of around 10 degrees or more. It's much easier to catch a cold under such fluctuating temperatures, so make sure to dress in layers. Tomorrow's Seoul will start off at -1 degree Celsius, Gwangju and Daegu 0 degrees. Daily highs in Seoul will get up to 10 degrees, Daegu and Busan 14 degrees Celsius. The entire nation is forecast to see rainfall from Sunday. This rain is expected to continue until the middle of next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Well, that is all for this newscast. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 10 p.m. with the AI headline news. Hope everyone has a great weekend and a good night.